Joining us from the passenger seat of a car near the Bradley Manning trial is Kevin Gosztola. He's a journalist for FireDogLake.com. He's been covering the court-martial of Bradley Manning since the beginning. So first, Kevin, where is this all happening? What's happened so far?
Well, we're doing this at Fort Meade in Maryland, the military base where his court-martial has been going through litigation since December 2011. He was first arraigned in February of 2012. There have been various issues that have been handled through the pretrial process related to getting access to evidence for his case so the defense could make a valid defense of Manning in the courtroom, related to his pretrial punishment, related to whether he was in fact given a speedy trial or if his rights had been violated. And then now finally, after pleading guilty to some of the offenses on February 28th of this year, we have Bradley Manning in the courtroom in June, finally getting his trial after over 1,000 days of pretrial confinement. And we are hearing the different sort of legal arguments that the defense is going to make and what the government is going to make in this trial.
So let's step through it piece by piece. Number one, how much attention is being paid to this there? Like, is it packed?
Well, it was very packed yesterday. There was this sense, I think, that this is the first day of a very major trial, so all media wanted to be there. I actually put the number of being like 50 to 60% U.S. media, but then there was a lot of media from around the world. There's incredible attention to this trial from European countries and Australia because of Julian Assange, I presume, and also because some of these other countries just, I think, have responded to the information that Manning has released far more favorably than the United States government and U.S. citizens. So today, though, second day, we're down to about 25 to 30 reporters in the media center. And in fact, those individuals who probably wanted to be there on the first day, who could not be accommodated, would probably be able to get in now if they wanted.
How is this court proceeding different from if this were being held in a kind of civilian court? How will the proceedings be different?
The difference would be, well, first off, I'm a plaintiff in a lawsuit that's being advanced by the Center for Constitutional Rights, and we continue to advance it because when there are when there are any rulings or motions or transcripts of proceedings or anything that's being produced that are records in this court that would normally be released in a federal court, those are all kept secret from the press and public, and we've objected to that. I, along with Jeremy Scahill of The Nation, Glenn Greenwald of The Guardian, Amy Goodman of Democracy Now!, Julian Assange, an author named Chase Madar, we've all objected to this, and they continue to keep even pre-trial documents secret, although we are in the trial period. And the other thing, I guess, there may be the chance that you could see video of the trial. But in this case, it isn't going to be like Jodi Arias. It isn't going to be like George Zimmerman. It's a military court-martial, and the military, sort of like the Supreme Court, has not come into the 21st century.
Who will decide Bradley Manning's fate ultimately?
The judge. He has decided that he does not want to be tried by a jury, or they call it a panel in the military. And he had a choice. He could have had retired military officers or currently enlisted military officers, and those people could have been listening to the evidence, and then they would have come to a verdict. But he ultimately, I think, just decided that he wanted to have the judge handle all of this because maybe she wouldn't bring in a lot of the emotions that you have associated with this sort of an act that he's alleged or who has confessed to committing. You would have the judge just focusing on the law, and she might give a more objective decision than his fellow military officers.
So, Kevin, based on what Bradley Manning has already admitted to, is there some minimum sentence that he is certain to get regardless of how far the judge decides to take sentencing?
Well, so the judge has had him plead or heard the plea, and she knows that he has pled guilty to these offenses. And so what that happens to mean is there is no scenario here where he will be found guilty. Either way, she will be in a position where she'll have to hand down some kind of a sentence. So the minimum can be, lower it as far as you want to go. It could be as minimal as discharged from the military, forced to pay fines, uh, dishonorably discharged, so he would always be discredited as a former military officer. But the maximum here goes as severe as life without parole, because that's what is attached to the aiding the enemy charge. This charge and so she could go anywhere from that to the extreme of being put in prison for life.
And Kevin, just to make sure we heard right, because you might have cut out, did you say that he will be found certainly guilty or not guilty?
No, because he pled, because he's asking her to accept a statement where he entered this plea on February 28th. That made it impossible for her to hand down a verdict in this trial that he is not guilty.
Understood. Do you have any sense of whether Bradley Manning has any idea of the amount of commotion and notoriety that this case has garnered over the last few years?
We know he's aware of the fact that his leaks are believed to have fueled the uprisings in Tunisia and Egypt. We know that his lawyer, David Coombs, has shared with him reports of how many supporters are showing, through rallies, demonstrations. I'm sure he's seen the images of people like Daniel Ellsberg standing with "I am Bradley Manning" signs. I'm sure that he's seen how what he's confessed to releasing has actually led to some change.
Kevin, how is the media being handled there around this case?
Well, here at Fort Meade, they're very polite. They're nice people, and they're all taking and following orders. But there are things that we have to put up with that do not make the job easy. So, for example, in the course of doing this interview, and then in the course of doing other interviews, I have to do my reporting over video or for radio in my car typically. In order to have my phone, I have to come out to my car as well. I cannot have it in the media center. There is a ban. Part of that ban comes from, if you might remember, the leak of Bradley Manning's statement. There was leaked audio posted by the Freedom of the Press Foundation that was obtained by someone, and they were very upset about that. In fact, the last point I'll leave you with is on that day, the first hearing after the leak, we were informed by a higher-ranking military officer that everyone would feel the pain if it happened again. And she said the media center is a privilege, not a right. So that tells you a little bit something about how they view press freedom and how they view their duty to, follow the First Amendment as a military force here that is handling this court-martial.
All right, Kevin Gosztola, journalist for FireDogLake.com at Fort Meade, covering the Bradley Manning trial. Kevin, thanks for being here. We'll let you get back inside, and we'll check in with you again.
Thank you very much.